Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for coming back. I was away for a little bit. I was busy with family issues, so I'm back. Thank you for joining me. Today is November 7, 2021. A lot of things happened since I went on air last time. Uh, I will come to Dinsha Gena, very famous Ethiopian musician who unexpectedly demonstrated his courage, his dedication, his opposition to ongoing uh, bloody war in Ethiopia on today's uh, uh, Abiy Ahmed public demonstration in Mescal Square in Addis Ababa. Unexpected, very courageous musician, and deserve appreciation really. At the time when most of Ethiopians are silent, this musician stood up against ongoing mobilization and bloody war. So I'll come back to his video uh, after a little bit summary. So a lot of things have been happening since last time. The first one is very disturbing and continued ethnic-based mass arrest in Addis Ababa, in Gondar, and other major towns, major cities and towns. So in this under this new emergency rule, they extended what they have been doing before. So arresting Tigrayans, arresting Oromos, just based on ethnicity, not because they did a crime, but just based on their ethnicity. They are targeting Tigrayans everywhere. Uh, those supporters of Abiy Ahmed, the federal police, undercover operatives, all the security apparatus are targeting especially Tigrayans in every corner of that country, in Addis Ababa, in Gondar, in other cities, and also Oromos, including those practicing religious services in church in Oromia. So this is very disturbing and continued as an extension of Abiy Ahmed's program, and by using emergency as an excuse. So they can arrest, they can do whatever they want to do. So uh, they are conducting these atrocities and terrorizing the Tigrans, terrorizing the Oromos for not something illegal, but just because they are from Tigrayan origins or Oromian origins. The other thing is air bombardment or drone attacks in Wallo. This is also very disturbing. Abiy Ahmed is doing everything to stay in power. He killed, I think, more than 30, 31 civilians and injured more than 50 in Kamise area. Just those people gathered civilians, no soldiers, and nothing else, just civilians, women, and the children. So he is still, according to some media resource, he's still conducting drone attacks in Kamise. Uh, that's the situation. The other one is McConnell Kebede, the guy from Atlanta, US citizen, who was in Wallo front, encouraging all Fanos, Amara militias, and others, to fight hard, not to surrender to TDF. That guy, McConnell Kebede, now he is safely back in the United States, according to his Facebook post. Uh, you know, he encouraged others to die, but he ran away from danger when it's very serious. But when he was talking, he was ready to sacrifice for that cause. That was not true. He is back in the United States I don't know how the United States allow him to return after, joining the Fano and, terrorizing or engaging in the war. Engaging in the war. Even there is a video he participated in some kind of atrocity against some captives. So he's really a criminal. He's a criminal, and lawyers in the United States, whether from TDF affiliated or Oromo affiliated, they should follow up on this guy and report him to the United States government for that atrocity, plus what he's advocating on the Facebook, uh, you know, uh, encouraging ethnic cleansing in Ethiopia. So that's other update. Uh, the other one is foreigners are leaving the United States, Israelis, Saudis, and other foreigners, the United States citizens, they are leaving. Ethiopia became a dangerous place now, very dangerous. So, very dangerous place. Uh, According to some media report, these rebel forces are now close to like maybe 160 kilometers away from the capital city. Uh, OLA is in the Getafo area and some close by, and TDF also pushing forward, in Shoa zone. OLA is very operating also in Western Shoa. So they are coming closely. OLA, according to OLA, they are surrounded Addis Ababa. Because of this news, foreigners, Israeli citizens, United States citizens, Saudi Arabia citizens, and other international missionaries are leaving the Ethiopia, the capital city, Ethiopia, the capital city of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. They are leaving the country. So that is the situation. But Abiy and Abiy Ahmed supporters try to show uh, Addis Ababa is safe. The capital city is safe. Ethiopia, uh, is not threatened by anything. They can defeat TDF. They can defeat OLA. So that they are blaming the Western media, accusing them spreading false news. That's why you see this big, huge protest in Mescal Square and in other towns, in Adama and other Jimma. So they are doing this. This is for propaganda purpose and to show the world like Abiy Ahmed has strong uh, background, strong support from Ethiopians, and Addis Ababa is safe. It's not like a threatened city. That's their thing. So let's listen to this Tariku or Dinsha Ghana. Dinsha Ghana. This is a very famous pro-Ethiopian actually, but today unexpectedly throw a bomb at Abiy Ahmed supporters and those officials on a live stream, unexpectedly, when 99% of the participants are showing uh, a demonstration to go to war, an encouragement for others. Let's go to war. Let's go defeat the TDF. Let's go defeat Onek Sheni. When all these are, celebrating, jumping, singing, and showing, singing patriotic songs, showing with all these decorated Ethiopian flags. So this guy came out when he was expected to say something the same, but he uh, refused to sing. He refused to sing, and you're gonna hear in Amharic. He say, this is not the time to sing. So I appreciate him. Let's listen what he say. And but later on, he was forced. he was threatened to apologize by security or by under security officers, threatened, to be assassinated if he's not publicly apologized. But he did apologize on the Facebook and other medias. Let's listen. This is the guy. Yeah, he said he's not came to sing.
እንደዚህ ተጣባል ሰፈሩ እኔ ምዘፍነውም የለም ምናገረውም የለም በዘፈኑም ካልተማረን በመዝሙሩም ካልተማረን ዘፈን ነገር የለም አሁን ምዘመርም ነገር የለም በመዝሙሩም አልተማርንም
Goodbye. Roman fees at rack
Okay, this is advertisement.
Hello, automatic coverage when I'm exploring the world. Hello, Google Fi, a phone plan that can.
Over 800,000 people died from cardiovascular disease in the United States last year. And those numbers are getting worse.
በሚያስተምሩ በቄሶችም አልተማርንም በፕሮቴስታንት በሃይማኖት አባቶች በፓስተሮች የሚያስተምሩንም ካልተማረን በሙስሊሞች የሚያስተምሩንም ካልተማረን ዘፈኑም አያስተምረንም ምን አለ ብዬ ነው የምዘምረው ሁሌ ጥቁር መልበስ አያምርብንም ሁሌ ጥቁር መልበስ አያምርብንም ይበቃል ጥቁር መልበስ ይበቃል ጆሮአችን ደማ ይበቃል ማን ተናገረን ማን ወደኔ ሞታለሁ ለምንድነው ለሞት ብቻ ወደፊት የምንለው አሁን ወጣቶች ይቆሙ አይዩዱ ሽማግሌዎች ይይዱ ድንጋይ አንሱና ሳሪ በጥሱ አናታቸው ላይ ይዘው በሽምግልና ይሻላል አፈሙዙ ይበቃል መፍትሄ የለው ምን ነው እኔም ተዋግቻለሁ ከወንድሜ ጋር ነው ሲባል ጎንበስ ብቻዬን ተውኩኝ ደም አላስተማረንም ጉልበት አላስተማረንም የኢትዮጵያ ከዳር እስከ ዳር የሁሉም ደሙ ትኩስ ነው
Yeah, they cut him off, you see. Now they start the music, but he's not done.
Abba, salam tafa, fakir tafa, salam tafa, fakir tafa.
No peace, no love in Ethiopia. Okay, as really very appreciative. We need somebody like this in Ethiopia. We don't have many. We don't have money. Uh, he is saying it's time to end the war. No peace in Ethiopia, no love in Ethiopia, bloodshed in Ethiopia. So it is time to send the elders for peace. It's not the time to keep saying everything to the war front. You know, people are dying. These youngsters are dying. So the strategy is not working. The bloodshed is continue. We should end this sadness, this agonizing tragedy in Ethiopia. I know Abiy Ahmed and Abiy Ahmed supporters, they don't want to listen to something like this. But we need Ethiopians like this to end this bloodshed, really. So I really happy to see him to use the stage for this purpose, to advocate for peace, to end the war, end the suffering of, those children going to the war and mothers crying. You see mothers in Bale, Robe, and other areas crying when the government take their sons and daughters to the war front by force. By force. So this must end. The bloodshed to keep Abiy Ahmed in power must end. So Dinsha Gena also telling us how his religion values, principles, teaching him, telling him to do, and all the religious leaders didn't teach him to do this or advocate for war. Muslim religious leaders, they are advocating for peace. So where all this is coming, everything to the war front, especially the Amara elites and Prosperity Party members, those who are advocating, let's go, let's go, let's go. When danger comes, they run away like Mekonnen Kebede, who are dying, mostly those Southerners, Oromos, and those poor children, poor kids who have no choice, forced to join the army for financial gain or forced by the government to join the force. So really, we all should, encouraged by his messaging. Dinshagena, very, very courageous. I know he was cut off, to prevent him from speaking more. And later on, I think, taken by security officers and forced to apologize. That is Abiy Ahmed. Abiy Ahmed do not tolerate anything except, the support for himself and for his power. So that is very encouraging news to see, singers, religious leaders, and others, to stand up against this war. Abiy Ahmed's strategy is not working. He's taking the country into bloodshed. I've been keep saying it, and everything is going further into further disaster. Okay, let's read some news, some other news, and I'll come back to other videos. Thank you, Tariku or Dinshagena. for your outstanding, courageous achievement today against this public, you know, demonstration, million march in Addis Ababa and other cities. It doesn't work. It doesn't end the war in that way. You cannot win the war by protest. And okay, at rally to back military campaign, Ethiopians denounce the United States. Tens of thousands of Ethiopians rallied in Addis Ababa on Sunday in support of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government as federal troops fight rebellious forces who are threatening to march on the city. Some demonstrators denounced the United States, which is among the foreign powers that have called for a ceasefire as a year-long war that has killed thousands of people, intensified amid rebel advance last weekend. The United Nations Security Council, the African Union, and Kenya and Uganda have also called on recent days for a ceasefire. Abiy's government has pledged to keep fighting. On Friday, the government said it had a responsibility to secure the country and urged foreign powers to stand with Ethiopia's democracy. Some of those gathered in Meskel Square in central Addis Ababa draped themselves in the national flag. Many singled out the United States for criticism. US President Joe Biden administration on Tuesday accused Ethiopia of gross violation of human rights and said it planned to remove the country from the African Growth and Opportunity Act AGWA trade agreement. I also reported on this one. Shame on USA, read one demonstrator's placard, while another said the United States should stop sucking Ethiopians' blood. This is very, very bad. That's Abiy propaganda. That's the supporters of Abiy propaganda. See how they are expressing again, sending the expression against the United States. Sucking Ethiopians' blood. Where? Where they have the evidence for this, sucking Ethiopian blood. So this is a propaganda happening against the United States under Abiy Ahmed leadership. He is using government media to spread such kind of propaganda against the United States and against other Western allies. And, this is very bad. This guy is a wrong guy for that country. He is not, ending the problem. Other demonstrators expressed anger at the U.S. call for the government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front to begin talks. Why does the U.S. government not negotiate with a terrorist like Al-Shabaab, said 37-year-old Tigist Lemma, referring to an Al-Qaeda-linked militia group in Somalia? Why you need to compare with something doesn't benefit you instead of looking at your own problem? They are comparing the United States, why they don't negotiate with Al-Shabaab. This is completely different thing. They want to destroy our country like they did to Afghanistan. They will never succeed. We are Ethiopians. Look how they are expressing against the United States. Speaking at the rally, Addis Ababa Mayor Adanej Abibe invoked Ethiopia's history of resisting colonial power to justify the war. Ethiopia never been colonized, and it will not be colonized again. The United States is not colonizing or intend to colonize Ethiopia. So this is also part of their propaganda. United Nations Aid Chief Martin Griffin traveled to Mekelle on Sunday and met women affected by the fighting and the humanitarian partners, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said. He engaged with a de facto authorities on the need for humanitarian access and the protection of civilians through all areas under their control and the respect for humanitarian principles, OCHA said. A humanitarian source in Ethiopia and one person familiar with the matter told Reuters that the African Union Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, Olusegun Obasanjo, was also on the trip. African Union spokesperson Eba Kalando didn't respond to a request for comment. TPLF spokesperson Getachew Reda told Reuters that both Griffin and Obasanjo visited Mekelle. Government spokesperson Legessa Tulu didn't respond to a request for comment on the official visit. Credit Reuters. So mediation, whether recognized by Ethiopian government or not, the mediation to end the war is ongoing by Obasanjo and the African Union and by others. Okay. Joint statement on the release of the OHCHR EHRC joint investigation. I think it's Ethiopian Human Rights Council and the United Nations Human Rights Commission joint investigation. So this is a joint statement signed by almost I think 16 countries. I will read some of the points discussed. I don't read the 11 points. It's about 11 points they agreed and they released to the media about Ethiopia. We, Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Ireland, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the United States would like to extend our gratitude to the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, EHRC, for their joint effort to investigate allegations of human rights violations and abuses, and of serious violation of international humanitarian law and international refugee law committed by parties to the conflict in the Tigray region of Ethiopia between November 3, 2020 and June 28, 2021. Okay, the following is some of the points the release. Notwithstanding the considerable challenge faced in gaining access to places, people, and documentation, we commend OHCHR and EHRC for their impartial and transparent work. We also underscore the value of the investigation, collection, and the documentation of human rights abuses and the violations, and the violation of international humanitarian law for the purpose of supporting justice and accountability on behalf of victims and survivors. We underscore the concern expressed by High Commissioner Bachelet regarding continued restriction on access for humanitarian organizations. It is imperative to ensure meaningful and systematic accountability of those responsible for such abuses and violations. The report demonstrates the need for further investigations into abuses and violations documented in the report, as well as into allegations arising since June 28, 2021. We strongly encourage all parties to the conflict to accept and implement the findings and the recommendations. It is critical that all those responsible for violations and abuses of human rights and the violation of international humanitarian law referenced in the report are held to account, and the government of Ethiopia and Eritrea should ensure there are credible investigations. All parties must comply with their obligations under international humanitarian law, including with respect to the protection of civilians and humanitarian personnel. We also call for the immediate withdrawal of Eritrean forces in Ethiopia and underline the need for the government of Eritrea to ensure accountability for violations and abuses committed by its forces in Tigray. We support the stability, unity, and the territorial integrity of Ethiopia. We look forward to working with the African Union's High Representative for the Horn of Africa and with the United Nations in effort to cease hostilities in impunity and support a lasting solution to issues of peace and security. Signed by Australia, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Iceland, Ireland, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the United States representative. So that is who is missing. Russia is missing, China is missing, India is missing, and others. But so 16 countries. That's the joint statement. If you want to read the whole report, you can get it from U.S. State Department website. Okay. This one from Addis Standard, the Ethiopian government, calling on the Derg soldiers, or those who served under the Derg regime, to fight now, join the current bloody war. Ethiopian Defense Force call on former armed forces to register standby National Army to defend the country. The Ethiopian National Defense Force has called on former members of the Ethiopian Armed Forces to register standby the National Army and continue with their knowledge and contribute with their knowledge and experience in order to thwart the ongoing assault to destroy the country. Accordingly, the Ethiopian National Defense Force said former members of the armed forces who are physically fit, including general health, mental readiness, knowledge, and experience to register between November 10 and 24, 2021. Among the general requirements listed for former armed members to register are members who have accepted the Constitution of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia Constitution, those who believe in the sovereignty and the unity of the people and are willing to serve with perseverance, those who are free from partnership of any political party, those who are not facing prosecutions, both criminal or civil, those who are physically fit and are ready to operate throughout the country, those who had leadership experience in infantry officers, battalion leadership, and more, those who were trainers at any military training center and can provide proof of their experience, those who were members of mechanized and team equipment divisions. Other requirements include age limit. According to ENDF, said line officers should not be more than 60 years old, whereas ranked officers above the rank lieutenant should be no more than 64 years old. The Ethiopian National Defense Force requested those in Addis Ababa to register in their respective sub-cities and those in regional states to register in their respective security and militia offices of the Waradas and Kabeles in person. Thank you, Addis Standard, for sharing this news. So, desperate. Abiy is very desperate. Very desperate. to win this war. That's why you can see he doesn't have trained uh, uh, military personnel. The one he has, he lost in the game. Now he's calling on former military officers, and he's using children, very young children, 14 years, 16 years. Now he tried to use senior citizens. So the game is over for Abiy Ahmed, but he doesn't understand yet. Now he is determined to continue the bloodshed. Okay, Twitter temporarily disables its trend section in Ethiopia. Social network Twitter Inc. has temporarily disabled its trend section in Africa's conflict-hit nation of Ethiopia over threats of physical harm, the company said on Friday, and was monitoring the situation. Inciting violence or dehumanizing people is against our rules. Given the imminent threat of physical harm, we have also temporarily disabled trends in Ethiopia, the statement said. So Twitter disabled in Ethiopia because of uh, inciting violence and threatening others. That's against the company rule, according to their statement. Okay, security alert. This is from U.S. Embassy in Ethiopia. Alert. Ordered departure of non-emergency U.S. government employees and family members from U.S. Embassy Addis Ababa. On November 5, the department ordered the departure of non-emergency U.S. government employees and their family members from Ethiopia due to armed conflict, civil unrest, and a possible supply shortage. The Department of the State urges U.S. citizens in Ethiopia to depart now using commercially available options. The U.S. Embassy is unlikely to be able to assist U.S. citizens in Ethiopia with departure if commercial options become unavailable. Although seats on commercial flights currently remain available, we cannot predict when demand will exceed capacity. Travel to Ethiopia is unsafe due to the ongoing armed conflict. Incidents of civil unrest and ethnic violence are occurring without warning. The situation may escalate further and may cause supply chain shortage, communications blackout, and travel disruption. The Ethiopian government declared a state of emergency on November 2nd, 2021. At this time, the embassy remains open and able to process U.S. passport and consular reports of births abroad for those preparing to depart. The embassy can also provide a repatriation loan for U.S. citizens who cannot afford at this time to purchase a commercial ticket to the United States. Please contact the embassy's American Citizen Service Unit at Addis ACS at state.gov for further information. Those planning to remain should ensure they have sufficient provisions stacked to shelter in place. So that is a warning and an advice by U.S. Embassy in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia for the citizens. If you want to stay, you have to have enough supplies, and if you want to leave and have shortage of money, the embassy is there to help. So that's a warning, and it's very bad for that country. I already said on the issue, so very bad. The United States citizens, Israelis, Saudi Arabians, and others are leaving the country, and plus those religious missionaries. The urgent need to end the conflict in Ethiopia. This is a one-page press statement again from U.S. State Department. As the conflict in Ethiopia marks a full year, Ethiopia leaders, both inside and outside government and from across the country, face an urgent need to act immediately and alleviate the suffering of the Ethiopian people. The United States reiterate our deep concern about the risk of intercommunal violence aggravated by bellicose rhetoric on all sides of the conflict, especially on social media. Inflammatory language fuels the flame of this conflict, pushing a peaceful resolution ever farther away. We are also concerned about the reports of arbitrary detentions based on ethnicity in Addis Ababa. Yeah, that's already reported, terrorizing Tigrayans and Oromos just because they are from that ethnicity. With the safety and the security of millions in the balance, and more than 900,000 facing conflict-induced famine-like conditions, we prevail upon all forces to lay down their arms and open dialogue to maintain the unity and integrity of the Ethiopian state. We call on the government of Ethiopia to halt its military campaign, including airstrikes in population center in Tigray and the mobilization of ethnic militias. We call on the government of Eritrea to remove its troops from Ethiopia. We call on the forces of the Tigray People Liberation Front and the Oromo Liberation Army to immediately stop the current advance toward Addis Ababa. All parties must also allow and facilitate humanitarian access to that life-saving assistance can reach people in need. We urge all parties to open ceasefire negotiations without preconditions to find a sustainable path towards peace. The international community stands ready to assist the Ethiopian people to end this conflict now. So that's a statement from U.S. State Department. Secretary Blinken called with Kenya President Kenyatta. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with Kenya President Uhuru Kenyatta today to discuss regional security issues of mutual interest, including the situation in Ethiopia. The secretary thanked the president for his continued leadership to promote peace and prosperity in the region. This was on November 5. The call was made on November 5. Okay, this is a threat, a bomb threat in two universities in the United States. Two elite New York universities evacuated buildings after bomb threats. Two elite Ivy League universities in New York State evacuated parts of their campuses on Sunday after receiving threats that bombs were placed inside several buildings. In a series of tweets, Cornell University in Ithaca told students, staff, and visitors to immediately leave the law school, Goldwyn Smith, Upson Hall, and Kennedy Hall, and to avoid Central Campus after local police received a call about bombs being put on those buildings. Please do not call the Cornell police unless you have an emergency, the private school of 21,000 students said. Columbia University in New York City, which has 31,000 students, also evacuated 3 buildings after it received bomb threats, the Columbia Spectator student newspaper reported. The university advises that people stay away from those buildings until further notice, the newspaper said in a tweet, relaying an alert sent out from the school. On Friday, Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut, also an Ivy League school, received bomb threats that were later found not to be credible. So that's very scary, really. Why somebody is treating universities? These are peaceful places for learning and research. So that's the situation now. Okay, this is the last part of today, I think. Israeli suggests U.S. open consular for Palestinians in the West Bank, not in Jerusalem. Israel stepped up its public opposition on Saturday to a plan by President Joe Biden's administration to reopen a U.S. consular for Palestinians in Jerusalem, suggesting such a mission should be in the occupied West Bank. Under former President Donald Trump, Washington delighted Israelis and outraged Palestinians by closing the Jerusalem consulate and placing its staff within the U.S. Embassy to Israel that was moved to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv in 2018. Palestinians want East Jerusalem as the capital of a future state, and so the U.S. Initiative to move its embassy as undermining that aspiration. Israel, which captured East Jerusalem in 1967, calls Jerusalem its indivisible capital. Seeking to repair ties with Palestinians, the Biden administration has said it would reopen the consular, although it has not given a date. My opposition, and it was presented to the Americans, is that there is no place for a U.S. consular which serves the Palestinians in Jerusalem. We are voicing our opinion consistently, quietly, without drama, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett told reporters. Foreign Minister Yair Lapid, speaking next, Bennett proposed reopening the consulate in the de facto seat of Palestinian government in Ramallah, in the occupied West Bank. If the United States, want to open a consulate in Ramallah, we have no problem with that, he said. In Ramallah, the spokesman of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas rejected Lapid's comment. We will not accept a U.S. consulate in we will only accept a U.S. consulate in Jerusalem, the capital of the Palestinian state. That was what the U.S. administration had announced and had committed itself to doing, Nabil Abu Rudain told Reuters. Spokespeople for the U.S. Embassy did not immediately comment. Credit for this one also, Reuters. So that is very fiery place, very volatile and explosive region, especially the situation between Israel and the Palestinians, never ending conflict. So now they are fighting over the consular, where it should be. It should be in the West Bank, or it should be in Jerusalem. Donald Trump, he did what he did during his presidency, but Biden is, with a different approach to the global issue, to the Palestinian-Israeli issue, even though still, behind everything, so he's, in support of Israelis. That's he cannot do anything against Israelis. It will backfire against your re-election or future position you might seek, because of they have a strong community, strong base in the United States. So we will see. Biden will continue with that announcement, or he will, pushed back by Israelis, strong force. And concerned citizens wish the two-state solution as expressed by international, body. Very soon, the longer it takes, the more land the Palestinians will lose. So the United Nations, Biden, or the European Union, they should come and settle that issue, that volatile issue, before too late. All right, let's see. Let's share a couple of videos and end today's presentation. Thank you again for joining me. Let's see.
U.S. Special Envoy. Ethiopia's year-long conflict over the Tigray.
There we go. There we go. Just you might already heard from different media, but if it could be a summary for you. If not, it's gonna be. This is what happened last couple of days.
Ethiopia's year-long conflict over the Tigray region is reverberating as far as Washington, where demonstrators gathered Thursday near the U.S. Capitol to denounce what they called a genocide by the Ethiopian government and a lack of action by the United States and the United Nations to stop the fighting. Also in Washington, representatives of 9 Ethiopian rebel and opposition groups held a signing ceremony to announce they are joining forces to replace the Abiy government. For his part, Abiy says his government will prevail and has called on residents of Addis Ababa to take up arms if necessary to defend their neighborhoods. U.S. Special Envoy Jeffrey Feltman, who is in the Ethiopian capital, faces a difficult mission. Ahmed Solomon of Chatham House told VOA.
But as I understand it, he's partly there at the invitation of the Ethiopian government. So there could perhaps be an opening. There could perhaps be a scenario where there are discussions about, the possibility of a ceasefire, the possibility of finding a way through the country's challenges that doesn't involve the conflict spiraling and worsening as it has been doing.
The U.S. is calling on all the parties to negotiate a ceasefire and allow humanitarian assistance to reach the Ethiopian people. Former Ambassador Makila James spoke with VOA.
The U.S. has always been a friend of the Ethiopian people and has been a real supporter of Prime Minister Abiy. What we're seeing now threatens to undermine all of the progress and the promise of what Prime Minister Abiy came into office to do. And so we hope that this will not be squandered, will not be wasted, and that we can see ourselves all returning to a place where Ethiopia can be an exporter of peace in the region, exporter of development.
The U.S. is working with the African Union, regional allies, and the United Nations to try to create the right conditions for a ceasefire, as James explains.
So I would say that the collective approach is raising the diplomatic stakes, putting more pressure on the government, giving incentives for the parties to all come to the table, and talking across the board. This is not just a one-sided conversation. It's talking to the TPLF, talking to the Eritreans, talking to the neighbors, talking to the government of Prime Minister Abiy.
The UN Security Council is set to hold a meeting on the crisis in Ethiopia on Monday. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
Okay, we'll see if the United Nations do something on Monday.
The very definition of what it means to be a car is changing. We have to consider the environment.
Okay, these advertisements.
New electrified world.
ስማችን ተመዝግቦ ግቡ ብለን ካርድ ወስጄ ገባሁ። ከዛ ካርድ ወስጄ ስገባ ስማችን ጠርቶ በመኪናችን ተጭኖ ወደ ውርሶ ሄዱ። ወደ ስልጠና ቦታ ከዛ እዚህ መጣን ማለት ነው ወደ ውጊያ።
This, I try to show you how Abiy is desperate to use everything to defend his seat. Look how these are, how young this. We just discussing what he see in the war front. Nobody is there to pick up those dead, injured. ሁለቱ ደግሞ አላውቅም እኛ ሐኪም አራት ሐኪም ተረሽነዋል። እኛ ኮሎኔል አየነው ይባላል። እሱ አራት ልጆች ወደ ኋላ ስትሄዱ ሐኪሞች ተረሽነው እኛ ፊት ለፊት ተረሽነው እኛ አሳይተዋል። እሱ ማለት ነው። This is traumatizing really to see the unit members just assassinated right there in front of him.
በተለይ የኦሮሞ ልጆች ደግሞ እኛ ምሽግ ለቀስነት እናንተ ሸኔ ናቸው ብሎ ረሽናል ማለት ነው። ተዛኛው ፈርተን እኛ ምንም አላውቅም።
from Oromia region just assassinated by blaming them as Shane.
የኦሮሞ ልጆች ደግሞ ፊት ለፊት አስገብተው እኛ ያጨረሱ ነበር ማለት ነው። የቆሰለ ልጆች ደግሞ ስትመጡ አብረ ራስ በራሳቸው እየተመቱ ነው እንጂ ተራስ እናንተ እየመጡ አይደለም ብሎ ልጆቹ ረሽናል ማለት ነው። ተዛ ጉዳይ ነበር።
ስሜ ደጀኔ ደስታው እባላለሁ። የመጣሁት መተማ ወረዳ ኮኪት ምትባል ቀበሌ ነው። ያው እዛ ሲያመጡና ትማራላችሁ ምናምን እኔ እናት ብቻ ነው ያለች። ትማራላችሁ እዛ ምርጥ ነው በቃ ለእናንተ ትማራላችሁ ምናምን ብሎ ጀንጀው ወደዚህ አመጡና እኛ ደግሞ ስልጠናው አንድ ወር መሆኑን አናውቅም። አንድ ወር አሰለጠኑ ግዳጅ ምናምን ብሎ አመጡና እዛ ጦርነት ውስጥ አስገቡና ወስደው ብዙ ሰው የኛ ብዙ ማውቆሶች እንደሞቱ ነው። ብዙ እኔ ራሱ የተረፍኩት ያው ውጊያ ስላልገባው ብቻ ውጊያ አልገባውም ፈርቼ የሆነ ላይ ቁጭ አልኩኝ። ሌላው ወደዚህ ነው የኛ ወገን ነው ይዟችሁ ያሉ ዝም ብሎ ያስገቡ ሲያስፈጁና አይተናል። በክላሽ በምን ያስፈራሩ አስገብተውኝ እዚህ 6 ሽፍታ አለ 6 ሽፍታ ምናምን አይሆኑ ያሉ እነሱን ይዘን
Okay, if you wanna really watch more of this video, you can check it out. DW Digital Wayane. This is very disturbing, really, very disturbing. What Abiy is doing to that country, to the citizens of that country. As you heard on this interview, they are cheating these young children, telling them you will get the best education and you will get money and you can help your family. So they are cheating them and giving them a 1 month military training, 1 month. Then expose them to the war front. So this is a tragedy under Abiy Ahmed. Very, tragic situation. International human rights organization or those with international law, they can investigate. Please investigate those kids' situation and some other videos. Also, the Digital Wayane and the Tigray Media House and others, please send those videos to Karen Bass, Representative Karen Bass, U.S. Representative Karen Bass. So she should know Ethiopia uses children in this war front, because she complained last time Tigrayan Defense Force using children at the war front. I don't know, she might ignore this for some reason, or maybe she doesn't have the information. So you should receive this video and other videos, containing, the horror, the terror, the depressing voice of these very young 14, 15, 16 years old children. So that's the situation. And Abiy Ahmed is desperate, as I say. He's desperate for his seat, not for the country, really. He will use, 7 years old or more, whatever he can send to win this war and keep the Prosperity Party in power, and to secure his dynasty. And I hope his time is coming to the end slowly. As you see, there is a diplomatic pressure, there is a military pressure, must be also financial pressure, social media pressure against this guy. This guy is destroying the country. Abiy Ahmed, Gujile, as they call him, he is destroying the country. He must be stopped by any means. So those group signed a deal to oust him, to create a transitional government in Ethiopia, which is a first step, signed by Tigrayans, Sidamas, Gambellas, Benishanguls, and other group, or Oromo Liberation Army representative. So which is a good one. This government come to an end, so we have to get ready to secure and to keep that country from collapsing. So that's kind of signed agreement and getting ready for the future is good. So it should continue in a military campaign, social campaign, financial fundraising for our causes, and also a diplomatic pressure by joining force with other concerned citizens of Ethiopia. Thank you again. I will be back with other updates. Appreciate you for staying with me today. Please share, like, comment on it. So long, everyone.